My experience in the hospital itself was wonderful. The midwives, I just can't say enough about them. They were so helpful, so supportive of, you know, even going through my birth preferences, even though maybe they didn't really go to plan. But, you know, I really felt listened to, which was, you know, important. And afterwards, the support with them when I was trying to feed, because, you know, like the first few days are definitely not easy, and I felt maybe I put a lot of pressure on myself to do it, that I was scared that maybe it mightn't work out. But again, it was something I really just wanted, of all the things I wanted to get out of, you know, maybe the whole pregnancy and labour and birth and everything, the only thing that really was important to me was that I could breastfeed him. And so, you know, they were so helpful. Like, I remember, like, pressing my call button or whatever it was in the hospital, like at 2 and 3 in the morning some nights, to for them to help me with getting the latch and making sure I was doing it okay. And they were just so helpful. And I know one night one of the midwives was like, "That's our job." But I don't know why I'm getting emotional. But I just don't think they appreciate, like, how important their job is, you know, and how, you know, it just makes such a difference, I suppose. And it really made a difference to me. So I don't think the knowledge women are given through the public system is enough. I don't think it's good enough. I really don't. You know, I suppose was lucky. I was able to, you know, go to some classes that we had to pay for. For me, I suppose it was a priority that I placed. You know, I didn't spend money on other things because I wanted to do those. But at the same time, I had that money to do it with. People don't always have that. And I do think that there's no reason that we can't have the same standard of some of the private classes in our public system. And, you know, I suppose it kind of makes me a bit angry that I would have been so clueless going into it had I not done some of the other stuff myself. And I feel, even from a breastfeeding point of view, I wouldn't have known as much. I wouldn't have been as confident going in that I could do this, you know. And that's not fair, you know. That's not fair to women. That's not fair to the health of our children. You know, we see now, you know, some of our ministers are pictured with, you know, members of the Chinese government, because they're now, one of the companies here are, you know, helping produce formula for the Chinese market, you know, baby formula for the Chinese market. Like, how are we doing this? How are we advertising this as a good thing and and I know jobs are important to our country now, but how are we putting that ahead of the health of our children? You know, I was just reading it on Facebook, and somebody had made the comment that, you know, we're putting money into this, like, formula feeding, and yet on the back end then we're trying to deal with obesity and all of these other health things. It just doesn't make sense. And, you know, our ministers for health, they talk about, our public system talks about the importance of breastfeeding, but it's just, talk is cheap. Like, you know, like, actions are what's important, and really the actions are not supporting women to do it. You know, and even from a financial point of view, you know, I don't have to buy formula, you know. It's like over €100 a month maybe that I'm saving right now anyway. But, you know, so, like, I think there's lots of reasons that we should be supporting that, and I don't think that the public system is doing that, you know. And even from point of view of even educating women about, you know, what an epidural is, what maybe, you know, when you're induced, you know, all of these things, you know, sections, like, we're not being educated enough in the public system. At least my experience was that I didn't get enough information, unbiased, I suppose, you know, that it is a lot about hospital policy. And I suppose we have to think about what's informing hospital policy, you know, like, is it the well-being, you know, I don't know, I suppose I'm not maybe educated enough, but, like, you know, why are certain drugs used, you know, why are all these things, and why do you can things be done without you kind of consenting to it? Like, that's what bothered me most before. Now, in saying that, my experience was that I had to consent to everything. But I suppose I was very vocal beforehand because I knew what could potentially happen. That I, you know, on the birth preferences, every place possible it said not to do anything without my consent or Alan's consent, you know. So I don't know. I think, and I've said this from my experience at the 20-week scan, I think pregnant women deserve better from the public service, and I don't think it needs to cost more money to do that, you know. And I just think, you know, the health and well-being of our children, and that's what's gonna, like, I suppose it always comes down to money, and, you know, if, you know, it's going to cost the government more long term to deal with diabetes, obesity, heart disease. So why will they not tackle it where it needs to be tackled at the very start? Like, prevention is where we should be looking at. And at the very, very beginning is where we need to look back for. Obviously, dealing with some of the issues now is really important, especially childhood obesity. But we need to catch women in that early stage, in that teaching moment when they're really open to learning new things. Like, it's lots of things I thought I'd never do, and I was open to them throughout the whole journey. You know what I mean? And, you know, most women are that way, but I think that we need some kind of a better system in place, and I just don't see it happening. You know, I don't know if I see it happening. I think it should happen. When I went into the hospital for labour, I didn't have that experience. I was listened to, I was heard, I felt I was heard. That was a great experience. But beforehand, in the classes, I felt like boxes were being ticked. I suppose that's what I felt. You know, people were doing their job, but, you know, it was like a clerical job. All right, okay, we gave that, we did that, okay, done. My ass is covered. You know, but that's not good enough. Like, not when we're thinking about the health and well-being, you know, and like we just see, I suppose, that, you know, even if we look at women gaining too much weight during pregnancy and the problems that can lead to, like, it just mounts up to, like, all of these issues that we're having in our healthcare, you know. And if we really tackle it earlier on, I believe, and I'm sure there are lots of people who will say the same, that will make a really big difference. But the money obviously is not being put in the right places, you know. But I don't know. On the whole, I suppose, now looking back on it all, you know, I'm just happy. I have my little baby boy and we're all well. But I think the experiences and the education maybe that was provided through the public system could have been done in a much better way, at a much higher standard. And it doesn't have to cost any more. Like, I don't think it's a cost thing. But yeah.